Hello, I'm Dr. Lynn Glickman, the superintendent here in Community Consolidated School District 46, and I'm here with my colleague, Mr. Chris Wildman, our assistant superintendent for finance, and we're here to talk about the upcoming referendum for our school district. We have been offering information sessions throughout the community. We've had sessions at all of our schools, and we're recording a session today for any of our community members who weren't able to get to the live sessions. So here we go. We have a lot of information to share with you. We'll start by talking about our school district, telling you about the challenges of funding our school district, move into what our hopes are for the school district, and finally move into what the referendum question actually is, followed by voting opportunities for community members. So let's talk a little bit about the district. Our school district serves students in 7 Lake County communities: Grays Lake, Haynesville, Lake Villa, Round Lake Beach, Round Lake Park, and Third Lake. We have just over 3,700 students, about 565 staff members, and 8 schools housed within 7 buildings, so I'll talk about that for a moment. One of those schools is Park Campus. It is a standalone K-8 center in Round Lake, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about Park in a little while. Then we have 4 K-4 buildings: Prairie View, Meadowview, Woodview, and Avon Center School. Students at those schools all go then to our 5-6 building, which is Frederick School. And Frederick students then end up at Grays Lake Middle School, GMS, that's a 7-8 building. We also have an early childhood center, and that takes students from throughout the district. That school is housed within Prairie View School, so it doesn't have its own building, it's a part of Prairie View. I could spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours talking with you about all the reasons why we're proud of our school district. There's a list, a short list here on this slide for you to review, but my focus right now is simply going to be on that first point of pride, which is that every one of the schools in our school district has been identified by the Illinois State Board of Education as being exemplary or commendable. Exemplary is the top rating that a school district can get. Commendable is the one beneath that. Now that would be a big deal no matter what. We would be proud of that no matter what. But we're particularly proud of those ratings because of how poorly funded our schools are. Mr. Wildman will be explaining that in a little while. All right, here we have a very long timeline, and I am not going to walk us through the entire timeline. I just want to talk about a few pieces to it. I'd like to draw your attention to the top of this timeline, because that shows you the last time that the school board had a successful referendum with our community, and that was in November of 2004, 19 years ago. At that time, the school board asked the community for what's called a building bond referendum. That was to build Park Campus. Then later in the year, there was an operating rate request, and that measure was not approved. A year later, again, there was an operating measure that was requested and was not approved. I bring this to your attention for a couple of reasons. One is that there's a difference between a referendum that's for buildings and one that's for the operating rate. And right now, the board is asking the community for both of those things at one time because there are needs in our school district, both with our facilities and with our operating rate. And we'll explain all about that. We'll explain that to you in just a moment. The board is asking for both of those things at once in what's called a limiting rate referendum, which is an ongoing request to the community. Also, I want to bring to your attention that the board has not come back to the community since 2005, and they haven't come back to the community since that time because they wanted to wait until the current building bond is paid off, and that was the bond that came through for the building of Park Campus. Way on the right side of the timeline is where we are now, moving into Election Day on March 19th, when our voters will have the opportunity to weigh in on this referendum request. Way on the other side is where this conversation started when we adopted a strategic plan in April of 2021. In between there are many, many reports and meetings that we did with our community. The majority of those reports can be found on our website, so you can dive in yourself to read what it is that we've been looking at together. But I want to point out a few of those things. And first of all, we had a facilities assessment. That led into a 3-year capital plan that was adopted by the Board of Education. But I want to pause here and let you know that actually it was a 10-year plan, 10 years of work that needed to be done. We were only able to fund the first 3 years of that capital plan. So the last 7 years of that capital plan remain unfunded. That's important for everyone to know. We had a demographer come out and take a look at our enrollment to identify whether our enrollment is significantly going down, significantly going up. Basically, it is flat. So there are not enrollment changes that are really going to change the structure of our school district coming up. We did a number of reports looking at how we're using our buildings and how we might be able to use these buildings in the future, what kinds of programs we can have in our buildings. Then we brought a number of different groups of people together to talk about the needs of the district and to consider what kind of question the Board of Education might ask voters in this March 19th, 2024 election. And that brings us to where we are right now. I'm going to hand this off to my colleague, Mr. Wildman, who will talk about our budget challenges.
CCSD 46 is 66% adequately funded, as per the Illinois State Board of Education. What does that mean? It means that we don't have the resources to do all the things that we need to do. As you can see from this chart, we have Libertyville 70 and Fremont 79 at 98% and 124%. 66% is on an annual basis means that we don't have $17 million per year to do all the things that we need to do. But we don't have a $17 million deficit. We have a $2.7 million deficit for fiscal year 2024. And that means that we're doing everything that we can to balance the budget in the face of inadequate funding. We have to deal with rapid inflation, and we are subject to the tax cap, which is also called the Property Tax Extension to Limitation Law. That means we're only able to levy an extension of 5% or CPI, and the last two CPIs have been 6.5% and 7%. We also have a commitment to fill all the vacancies we can with the best teachers which are available to us. And that means attracting, training, and retaining quality teachers. We have to deal with growing competition for teachers every day in the midst of a national, state, and local teacher shortage. And we also have to deal with unfunded mandates, which are things that we have to do for all the right reasons from the state legislature and the governor, but don't come with additional revenue. And deficit spending over several years is not sustainable. So as you can see from this slide, this shows our projected fund balance if we continue to do the right things that we're doing, but we're spending money that we don't have. Our fund balance is effectively the district's savings account, and as you can see from 2023, we have $18.7 million on hand. But as we move forward, you can see that we turn into the red in 2026. Our board policy states that we must have 25% of our fund balance on hand of our total revenues for the year.
This ballot measure focuses on the school district's highest priority needs, and it limits the request to $6 million annually. Now remember, a little while ago we talked about the fact that we have a $17 million adequacy gap, but we're not asking for $17 million every year, we're asking for $6 million every year. The reason for that is out of respect for the taxpayers, because, as I mentioned a little while ago, we are asking for this operating rate and the capital needs at the same time, and we're asking to do it while waiting for the debt to be paid off. That's the debt that was incurred when Park Campus was built. And doing it that way allows for a net tax rate decrease. All right, let's talk about our capital facility needs, where half of the money would be going. So you heard us talk about $6 million. So half of that $6 million would go towards our capital facility needs every year. You're looking at a pie chart that deals with $3 million every year. 78%, roughly, of that $3 million would go towards safety and security and maintenance, all work on our infrastructure. So that's funding emergency response systems, adding security cameras, and addressing our pretty significant maintenance and infrastructure needs. The other 22% for our buildings would go towards updating our library and media centers, which are used by all students, including adding space for collaboration and STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, and also reconfiguring, renovating our student support spaces. All right, these tiles are pictures of our own buildings and pieces of our buildings and display for you what our maintenance and infrastructure needs are. Roofing, mechanical, electrical needs, plumbing, improving our ADA accessibility, which is all certainly legal, but we want to improve it, HVAC and air quality, the exterior envelopes of our buildings, so that's everything on the outside of our buildings, paving and sidewalk repairs, improving energy efficiency, and updating safety and security. So you're looking there at a picture of a camera. So these are not exciting things to do in a school, but they are necessary things. When we talk about this with people, we often talk about the difference between replacing your furnace and getting a new couch. You want to get that new couch, you want people to notice your new couch and enjoy it, but first, you need that new furnace. Then we have our facility instructional needs. That was that other 22% of the $3 million every year. And that money would be going towards improving what we consider to be outdated libraries and media centers. That picture is kind of a bird's eye view of the Frederick School Library. And poorly configured student support service spaces, improving those spaces. Let's take a look at those needs. All right, these are beautiful pictures of examples of what our library and media centers could look like. That's not what ours currently look like. And you can see that they include beautiful space for collaboration. So let's talk about that. Our students are no longer using libraries the same way many adults remember using libraries in days, in their own childhood days going to school. Many of us may remember going to the library, needing to do a research report, pulling a encyclopedia off the shelf and getting ready to do our research. Yes, students certainly still use libraries for doing research, and they certainly still use books, but as everyone knows, they do a lot of their research online. And we use our library spaces not just to gather information, but to create information and to create content, because we know that children need to be prepared for the workplace, and the workplace very often now requires collaboration and requires the creation of content. So we want to give our children as many opportunities as possible to collaborate with each other. Those spaces that you're looking at there have beautiful opportunities for movable furniture, children to gather around and create together. Also, we want to improve the space that we have available for STEM learning, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. Absolutely, we are providing STEM learning for our children, but we want to improve where we're able to do that and improve that instruction. And then we have our student support service spaces. So what are student support services? It's special education, speech, physical, and occupational therapy, support for our multilingual learners, emotional and behavioral counseling. And those are all services that we're absolutely providing our students. We have many students who need those services, and we provide them. However, we're providing them in spaces that were not designed to hold those kinds of programs. So very often, we will have more than one program going on in a space, large space that might be divided by furniture or dividers, lots of things going on at one time, distracting for children. In a little while, you're going to see a video where you're going to get a chance to go into our buildings and see what our spaces currently look like. They don't look like the pictures that you're looking at right here. And then we have our operating priorities. That's the other half of the money that would be used every year. And those operating priorities are all about our teachers and our programming and class sizes. So we want to be able to attract, retain, and train quality teachers. Remember, you heard a little while ago, we talked about the teacher shortage. We are competing with school districts all around the county and all around the state. So we want to be able to attract the best and the brightest because that's what our children deserve. We want to protect the current programming that we have for our children. We don't want to lose any of that current programming. And we want to be able to maintain class sizes so that our teachers can do as much as possible with their children in their classrooms. I'm going to hand this over to my colleague to talk about the financing plan.
So we've already mentioned the debt that is being paid off that was used to build Park Campus, and we're currently paying those outstanding referendum bonds, and the final payment will be done on November 1 of 2025. In levy year 2025, the debt service, both the principal and interest, will drop by approximately $6.8 million. That is an estimated tax drop of 86 cents per $100 of equalized assessed value. That gives us a great opportunity because at a limiting rate increase, as we've already addressed several times, we can address both facility and operating needs. A 76-cent limiting rate increase would provide $6 million annually. Again, half would provide for capital facility needs, and the other half would address those operating needs. The proposal allows for a tax rate reduction. Here is another way to look at it. 76 cents is tied to the 2024 referendum question, and 86 cents is for the debt service that's paid in 2025. That allows for a net decrease of 10 cents per $100 of its equalized assessed value. On a home of $300,000, that is approximately $90. And here we've provided a tax calculator for the community. It's actually available on the Maintaining Excellence webpage. And here the community members can enter their fair market value, and it will show them the estimated tax impact.
Here are the anticipated impacts of an approved referendum. Improved safety and security, the ability to attract and retain quality teachers, maintaining class sizes and protecting current programming, reducing costly and disruptive emergency repairs, extending the useful life of existing facilities, creating healthier learning environments, updating our library media centers, including space for collaboration and STEM learning, reconfiguring spaces to better deliver student support services, enhancing ADA accessibility for students, staff, and visitors, improving building efficiency and reducing operating costs. Here's one we haven't talked about yet, which is protecting our high-performing schools and property values, because as people know, when schools are performing well, property values are doing well, and the opposite is true as well. And all of that while allowing for a net tax rate decrease. Mr. Wildman's going to talk with us about the ballot question. And I feel that it's important to mention that the language of ballot questions it's very, very complicated. We don't have much control over that language, and so it can be hard for people to understand. I will note that recently a flyer came out to the community where we've walked people through each piece of that ballot question to explain what it means. That's what Mr. Wildman's going to do for you right now.
So here is the ballot question itself. This is what everyone will see on Election Day, and we're going to walk through all 4 paragraphs. So the first paragraph is called the introductory paragraph of the ballot question, and it actually goes through the limiting rate increase itself, the 76 cents per $100 of equalized assessed value, and it actually goes into several of the things that we've just talked about. It talks about the ADA accessibility, the renovating libraries, and some of the things that we've talked about. So it actually talks about what these tax dollars will be used for. The second paragraph actually is the extension itself. It actually explicitly states the $6 million, which, as you can see, is the difference between the $32 million and the $38 million. The next paragraph talks about the actual effect of a $100,000 home of the fair market value, which is $250.54, and this is actually the actual limiting rate increase itself. You might note that it doesn't take into any net effect of the decrease, as what we talked about earlier, from the district paying down the debt service portion in November of 2025. And then finally, it talks about what that limiting rate increases, reducing the overall debt service from 2024 through 2025.
Now we're very pleased to share with you a video that reviews all of this information for you. It also gives you a peek into our schools, a sense as to why this work is so important for our community.
The mission of Community Consolidated School District 46 is empowering learners, creating equity, and cultivating community. To support this mission, CCSD 46 is placing a funding proposal on the ballot in 2024. If approved by voters, the district would be able to address its highest priority capital, facility, and operating needs, while also providing for a net tax rate decrease.
Community Consolidated School District 46 is inadequately funded. We currently have, according to the state of Illinois, an adequacy gap of $17 million. Over time, that cannot be maintained as it shows a continual structural deficit.
The district will completely pay off existing long-term debt before implementing the new voter-approved funding proposal. This would allow for a net tax rate decrease of 10 cents per $100 of equalized assessed value, or an estimated reduction in taxes of $90.45 per year for a home with a fair market value of $300,000. The proceeds of the limiting rate increase would raise $6 million and be evenly split each year between capital facility and operating needs.
We would have about $3 million to support our facility needs, also known as capital improvements, and about 50%, also $3 million, for our operating needs. Regarding the capital needs, there would be a special focus on infrastructure needs of our school district. These are our maintenance needs. This is the work that must be done in order for us to protect what we already have, to keep our buildings in beautiful working order for many years to come.
When it comes to the current state of the facilities, needs, and infrastructure for the school district, some of the needs we're looking to address are mechanical and electrical, plumbing, ADA accessibility, HVAC and air quality, paving and sidewalks, energy inefficiencies, outdated libraries and media centers, and poorly configured student support service spaces.
Funds would also be applied to constructing security improvements, including installing emergency response systems and additional security cameras. A portion of the limiting rate proceeds would go toward updating the district's aging libraries and media centers, which are used by every student, so they are better aligned with how students do research and projects today. This includes creating flexible spaces that can be used for STEM learning, science, technology, engineering, and math.
The current challenges with the media center spaces are they're not as flexible. We have old computer labs with stationary counters and tables that we can't use.
CCSD 46 would also reconfigure existing spaces in every building to better deliver student support services, including special education, speech, physical, and occupational therapy, multilingual instruction, and emotional and behavioral counseling.
We would definitely need more space for our service providers. Currently, my service providers are coming from other buildings and are working in the pod with our students. That means there's a lot of distractions of students walking by in the hallway, classrooms being open and hearing a lot of noise.
I know for myself as a speech therapist, my office is pretty small. So then being able to not only provide those speech services, but but also make sure that students are getting sensory breaks in such a small environment with other students is very, very complicated and almost impossible.
At Meadowview, we have some places that have glass behind them, and that's not the safest for students that are having some big emotions at the time. So we would like to have a space where students can go to experience those feelings without an audience watching them.
My oldest daughter has a very rare condition, and so she uses a wheelchair and is nonverbal. And in fact, she was at this school. Without this district, she would not have had a voice. This place made her a life that she can be proud of and move forward with.
As a bilingual teacher, we have to share a space. Our program has grown so much in the past 8 years. We have many teachers who are currently sharing a small office and a classroom with up to 3 to 4 other teachers, and it makes it very difficult to provide small group lessons and interventions.
This ballot initiative is the result of years of planning. Community members provided input throughout the process, and a citizens task force composed of a cross-section of residents and staff members helped us refine the proposal.
The task force was a unique opportunity for people kind of across the community to come together and learn about the funding needs of District 46.
One of the things that I learned is that the amount of money that District 46 spends per pupil is a lot lower than some of the other area school districts. What was amazing to me is that the number of awards that the school district has been awarded, even while spending that amount per student. I think that's really a testament to our teachers, to our staff, and to our administrators that they are able to do that in the position that they've been put in because of our lower tax base.
I think our staff in District 46 has done a really, really great job working with what we have and really making it work for our students. However, just the needs of our students are increasing, so our spaces are becoming more and more limited.
We want the way that we do things to be equitable. What I love about how we work together is at the end of the day, we are all committed to student success.
One of the things that I have found just absolutely amazing is the level of engagement and partnership by the district staff and administrators. They were very intentional about making sure that my children felt seen, felt heard.
Communities that invest in education tend to have stronger economic growth, better health outcomes, less crime, and really additional civic engagement. And this allows to drive more positive change in the community.
There are roots here in this school district community that I don't think are common in public education. I think people feel that they have a place, that they have a voice, and I think they know that that voice and that place is supported. And I've always felt that here. And for us, for my family, it was proven tenfold.
Finally, we're very pleased to share with you information about voting. So, as you know, Election Day is on March 19th, and voting in person begins countywide March 4th. So from March 4th to March 19th, people can vote in person. Voting by mail has already begun, and people who have mail-in ballots are able to send those in through March 14th. That's the vote by mail application deadline. We are really very pleased to share this information with you today, but we expect that people will have more questions. So you can see my email address and my phone number. You're welcome to reach out to me to get your questions answered. Also, we invite people to please scan in that QR code or just type in the the website address so that you can access all of these different documents that we've just been talking about. You can look yourself, read the reports, go on to that tax calculator, look at our FAQ to get your questions answered. Thank you so much for your attention, and we hope you have a great day.